For 16 years, Bernard Madoff told his clients their money was safe. On December 11, 2008, he admitted it had never existed at all. Bernard Madoff wasn't some shadowy figure operating from a basement. He was a titan of Wall Street. By the early 2000s, his investment firm managed roughly $17 billion. Prominent banks, charities, and some of the wealthiest families in America trusted him with their life savings. His offices occupied the 17th and 18th floors of the Lipstick Building in Manhattan, a gleaming monument to success. But beneath that veneer of legitimacy lay something far darker, a mathematical impossibility presented as genius. The scheme didn't begin overnight, it evolved. In the 1960s, Madoff's firm made its name through legitimate market making. He was genuinely respected. But somewhere along the way, the exact moment remains unclear, the legitimate business became a front. The investment advisory side, which promised steady returns regardless of market conditions, became the trap. Investors weren't just seeking profit, they were seeking safety. Madoff offered both. That combination proved irresistible. The mathematics should have been obvious. Madoff promised consistent returns of 10 to 12% annually, even during years when the stock market plummeted. In 2008, while legitimate funds hemorrhaged money, Madoff's clients received positive statements. The S&P 500 fell 57% that year. His fund somehow gained money. No legitimate strategy can sustain that contradiction. Yet somehow, thousands of people didn't ask. Part of the answer lies in human nature. Madoff cultivated exclusivity. His fund wasn't open to everyone. Getting in required connections, references, and often a minimum investment of $1 million. That barrier created prestige. If you were in, you were elite. Questioning Madoff felt like questioning your own judgment, your own place in that exclusive circle. Doubt became social suicide. There were warning signs. In 2001, a Boston financial analyst named Harry Markopolos submitted a detailed report to the Securities and Exchange Commission. He'd analyzed Madoff's returns using legitimate mathematical models. The numbers didn't work. Statistically, what Madoff claimed to achieve was virtually impossible. He titled his analysis a Ponzi scheme. The SEC investigated. They found nothing wrong. Then they closed the file. The regulators made a critical error. They trusted Madoff's reputation more than they trusted the mathematics. When Madoff's office provided explanations for the suspicious returns, the SEC accepted them. Madoff claimed his strategy involved a complex hedging technique, a split-strike conversion. The specifics were technical enough to confuse. That confusion became protective camouflage. The actual mechanism was simpler and more sinister. When investors wanted to withdraw money, Madoff paid them using deposits from newer investors. The money never invested in anything. It simply moved. This is the fundamental structure of a Ponzi scheme, a mathematical inevitability that collapses the moment new money stops flowing. Madoff knew this. He counted on growth continuing forever. That's not investing, that's faith. For years it worked. Madoff lived lavishly. His penthouse overlooked Central Park. He owned a yacht. He was generous with charities, a form of reputation insurance. His name appeared on buildings and endowments. He became philanthropic royalty. His two sons worked in the firm. His wife attended galas. Everything appeared normal because nothing appeared suspicious. Normalcy was the disguise. Then came 2008. The financial crisis accelerated everything. Suddenly, many investors wanted their money back simultaneously. Madoff couldn't satisfy the withdrawals. There was no money to withdraw. On December 10, 2008, he confessed to his sons. They reported him to authorities. The next morning, federal agents arrested him at his apartment. The largest Ponzi scheme in history unraveled in hours. The damage was staggering. Approximately $65 billion, including fictitious gains, had been promised to investors. Actual losses exceeded $18 billion. Charities lost endowments. Retirement accounts vanished. A Palm Beach country club lost millions. Survivors of the Holocaust who'd entrusted Madoff with their savings lost everything. The human cost transcended numbers. The investigation revealed how deeply the fraud penetrated. Madoff's operation had fabricated thousands of trading confirmations. His accountant, a man working from a small office in New York, had never actually audited anything. The regulatory failures were equally stunning. The SEC had received multiple warnings, and ignored them. Internal memos showed skepticism that went unreported. The system designed to prevent this had failed catastrophically. In 2009, Madoff pleaded guilty to 11 federal felonies. He received a sentence of 150 years, effectively a life sentence for a man then 81 years old. He died in prison in 2021. His legacy wasn't wealth or innovation. It was a masterclass in how institutional trust can become institutional blindness, how prestige can silence skepticism, how mathematics can be ignored when the messenger is believed. The broader lesson persists. Madoff succeeded because people wanted to believe. They wanted consistent returns without risk. They wanted to belong to an exclusive circle. They wanted to trust authority. Madoff simply offered what they were already buying. The fraud wasn't complicated. The psychology was. Understanding that distinction between what happened and why people allowed it to happen is essential. Today, regulations are stricter. The SEC's structure has been reformed. Custody of assets is more carefully separated from management, but human nature hasn't changed. The desire to trust, to belong, to achieve returns without risk, these remain constant. Every few years, a new scheme emerges using Madoff's playbook. Different names, same mechanism. The vulnerability isn't technical, it's psychological. Madoff's fraud lasted 16 years in plain sight. Thousands of educated, wealthy, sophisticated people were deceived. Regulators with authority and resources missed it. The lesson isn't that we need smarter people watching the system. It's that we need to recognize how easily intelligence becomes a liability when combined with trust and exclusivity. Madoff didn't succeed because he was brilliant. He succeeded because he understood human weakness. The victim's recovery has been partial at best. A court-appointed trustee spent years recovering assets from various sources, eventually returning roughly 60% of the actual losses. But numbers don't capture the full cost. Relationships fractured, retirement plans collapsed, charities closed. Some victims never recovered emotionally. The financial wound eventually healed. The psychological one remains open. What makes Madoff's case distinct from other frauds isn't the size, though it was historically large, but the duration and the trust involved. He operated at the highest levels of finance. He was a market maker, a philanthropist, a pillar of his community. His fraud wasn't hidden in obscurity. It was hidden in plain sight, protected by reputation. That's the most dangerous kind of deception, the one nobody thought to investigate because the person seemed too important to question. Subscribe to explore more financial scandals that shaped markets and expose the systems we trust. New deep dives every week.